All right, we are recording. So, first of all, I just want to say thank you to Nikki Moore, Ambassador Diamond. She's decided to allow us to interview her today and on this Zoom, on our team Zoom. And Nikki has become a friend of mine as well as just an inspiring mentor. So, I thank you for jumping on and kind of giving us your story and your background and allowing our team to get to know you a little bit better.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Kind of fun, huh?
Yeah, I know. We do normally don't see each other like this, so it's
Uh-uh.
fun. Um,
No, it's cool.
so first off, I just would like, if you don't mind, if you just kind of would tell your story, your background, what got you into this business, because I'm sure there's some people that are going to be watching this that don't really have any idea what your background is. So if you wouldn't mind sharing that and telling your story, I'll kind of let you take over.
Yeah, absolutely. So thanks again for having me. Sorry I was late. My husband was golfing tonight, and my son is in lacrosse, which is like it's a full-time job. If you're, oh my gosh, I thought football was rough, but lacrosse is crazy. So anyways, I apologize. And then I was putting the baby down. So anyways, a little bit about me. So my name is Nikki Moore. I'm Ambassador Diamond. I've been with the company now for, it'll be 8 years in August, which is just like mind blowing to me. So I used to be a special education teacher, and it just dawned on me that I just surpassed my time with It Works past the time that I taught, which is crazy. So I was an early childhood special education teacher, and when I got started with It Works, my kids were 5, 3, 1, and then I had a stepdaughter that was 13. And, prior to even jumping on board, I was just doing what I thought I loved to do. And I really actually defaulted into teaching. I just always wanted to be a mom. Honestly, that was my lifelong ambition, was just to be a mom, to be a stay-at-home mom. I always wanted like 5 or 6 kids. I mean, just tons of children, just to push me over the ledge a little bit, right? But I got into the school district through interpreting. So I was an interpreter for 7 years, something like that. And while I was interpreting in the school districts, that's when I decided, I want to be a teacher. I want to be the one in charge. So I was teaching, and I thought I had my profession down. My husband was a chiropractor, and we were just doing our thing. Denise Walsh and Brandon Walsh are our sponsors, and Brandon is actually my cousin. So he's actually my baby cousin. And the older we get, the less I say he's that much younger than me. So we're going to lessen the gap as we go. But Brandon and Denise, I think everybody probably knows who they are. They're also Black Diamonds, just like Steph and Joel. And so they weren't at the time, but they kind of were asking us and prompting us, but not too pushy. And we were just like doing our thing, in our lifelong ambition, whatever. But it got to the point where we sat down and calculated, and by the time that I paid for daycare and I paid for healthcare, because my husband was a chiropractor, he was self-employed, we were making $50 from me working every 2 weeks. Like, seriously, I was making $25 a week to go to work and put my kids in daycare and pay for our insurance. And it was ridiculous. And that was like the straw that broke the camel's back. I was like, I'm not doing this. I want to be at home, and I am trading my time for piddly money, and I'm missing all these milestones with my kids. And so that's when I kind of was like, let's jump in, let's give it a chance. So I called Denise Welch, asked her about the product, asked her about the business opportunity. I had her draw bubbles for me. She said that I was actually the first person. She had been doing it for 3 years at that point. She was a triple diamond. And she had said, you're the first person that I ever sat down and went over the comp plan with. Isn't that wild, you guys? Like, totally wild. So I grilled her, because my thought process at the time was, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this, right? If I'm going to jump in, I'm going to give it my all. There is no reason to jump in and just half-ass it. You know what I mean? Sorry for my French. It comes out sometimes. So I'm just not going to be that way. I'm going to go all or nothing. And so I told her then at that point, because we knew what it was like to have a traditional business, She had been doing it for 3 years. She was at that point making between $20,000 and $30,000 a month. And I said, all right, I don't know if I'm quite as good as you are, but if you did it, it shows that it's possible. And so I can do it too. Anybody can do it, not just me. But if somebody can do it, if somebody can pave the way, then they can do it. And so I said, I'm going to give myself 3 years. I'm going to commit to you 3 years in this business. And my goal is to make $20,000 in the next 3 years. That is my goal. And I was able to give a 3-year commitment, which I look back now and I go, man, most of my new people can't even give me a 3-month commitment, for crying out loud, right? They think I'm just going to get rich overnight. And but I knew what it was like to be a business owner. I mean, Chris and I had to go out and buy the rugs and the pictures and the pens and the paper and the office supplies when we opened up his practice. And that stuff costs a lot of money when you add it up, you know? And then you've got to hire a receptionist, and you got to get a massage therapist, and you got to get the massage therapist stuff. I mean, it adds up really, really quick. So we didn't even make a profit his first year in business. You know, like we were by the skin of our teeth living. And so I know what that's like as a business owner. People think it's all fancy, but it's not. And so that's how I was able to give that 3-year commitment. And I jumped in, and I just thought I read it somewhere that there's like, there's like a dry or a wet method of doing something. So take swimming, for example, right? I could be a swim instructor and I could say, okay, guys, we are going to meet in the classroom. Nobody knows how to swim. We're going to meet in the classroom on Monday. We're going to watch some videos of the ocean. We're going to look at some pools. We're going to look at some lakes and ponds, and we're going to marvel at the beauty of it. And we're going to look at all different types of waters. And then on Tuesday, what we're going to do is we're going to learn how to create a pool. And we're going to watch people go in the pool. And we're going to watch people swim. And then maybe on Wednesday, I'm going to take you to a kiddie pool that you can put your feet in, you know? And then on Friday, you're going to swim, right? So, I mean, you can talk and talk and talk and talk about it. Or what we can do is say, guess what? We're going to meet you at the pool. We're going to jump in the shallow end, and we're just going to like doggy paddle across, you know, and you're going to look awkward, and it's going to feel weird, and you're going to be uncomfortable, and you're going to probably look a little stupid too. But this is what we're going to do. And we're just going to keep adding on to that skill set. And by Friday, you're going to have so much more confidence. And that's just by jumping in. And so that's just what I did. So within my first 2 months, I hit Ruby. I stayed at Ruby for 6 months, and then I hit Emerald because I had a rock star join my business and change the face of my business. And then 2 months later, I had another rock star join my business. And then I went Diamond. And when I was Diamond 10 months in, I was making $5,000 a month because I always built for stability and longevity. I understood beach money. I understood residual income. And I only wanted to build it once. I never wanted to just build a house of cards. And long story short, by the time I hit 18 months is when I hit my goal. 18 months in, I made my $20,000 mark. And it was funny because that was the point that I really got excited. Denise Welch would text me every month and say, how was your checks? How was your commission? And I would be like, 8,000, sad face, 11,000, sad face, 13,000, sad, not because I wasn't grateful, because I was, I could have been the best teacher in the whole world, and I was never going to make that kind of money, ever, no matter what. It doesn't matter what the teachers or the principals or coworkers or parents or students said about me. I was never going to make that kind of money, $12, $13, $15, $17, $18, $20,000 a month. But I had a goal, and that's all that it was, is we have to set these goals for ourselves, and we can't stop until we hit those goals. So it wasn't until I hit 20K for my monthly commission check that I sent her a smiley face. And, that's what? I don't know, 5.5 years ago, 7.5 years ago, something like that. I can't math.
That's awesome. I know. When you told that story, I was like, that is something people need to hear, because, they had talked to you a couple times, but not pushy about it. But you watched them stick with this company. You knew they were becoming successful, and the wheels started turning. And the moment you were ready to get started, you got to work. But you had watched them for how many years before they actually? Yeah. So, and it's like, and same thing with me with Joel and Steph, like watched them for 4 years before
Yeah.
I jumped in. But when I jumped in, it was like fully ready to go and ready to work. And I think that people need to realize that there are those people out there constantly watching you and watching what you're doing, and they might not be liking or commenting on any of your posts. They might not be responding to your messages, but when they're ready, they're going to be ready and they're going to take off. And they
Yeah,
might have a
yeah,
goal of making
absolutely.
$20,000 a month.
Yeah. Well, and it's funny because Denise said too, I'm so glad that you came in when you came in because I got all my practice out of the way, right? Because Denise Walsh hit triple, went to Australia to build, because that's right when they were open in Australia. She physically went to Australia to build a business for like 6 or 8 weeks, which is crazy to me. But she came back home and her whole business crumbled. She had to rebuild it again. And I jumped in at that point. But she's like, I'm so glad that I had triple diamond coating on you. And so I'm glad you came in when you came in. And I know that that my spot in her organization was instrumental for her going to ambassador. So sometimes I love for people to jump on board right away. But I also have now had that experience where I've signed up people that I've talked to 3, 4, 5 years ago. And it's just like, just mind blowing. I signed up a couple of girls with the half off kit. And I think I looked back and they were from 2015, 2014. So, I mean, a while ago, just crazy.
Yep, I've had the same thing happen myself, and it's like you don't want to force somebody to join when they're not ready, because they're not going to be ready to work and they're not going to do what they need to do to be successful if they're not ready mentally to do it. So it's like patience, so that kind of leads into my first question, and you talked about this a little bit, but what advice do you give to your new distributors right now? Knowing all that you know and looking back at what you did to grow your business initially, what advice do you give your new distributors?
It's a good question because I probably don't give enough advice in the beginning because we're just kind of focused on the basics and training and things like that. When I start to kind of mentor people, or I've had a couple people, especially as of late, come to me and because of compression and they haven't promoted yet. They might have been with the company for a while. And so they're like, hey, I'm going to come to you. And I'm like, okay, it's like a rebirth then, So one of the things that I really want people to do is to create your goals. I want you to know where you're going. If you don't have a vision, you're going to perish, right? You're not going to be able to get where you need to be because you don't know where you're going in the first place. And so I have often told my team, set your goals. I love short-term, long-term goals. So I will typically ask for a 3, 6, 12, 18, 3-year, 5-year goal. Because I want them to think beyond just right here. You guys, I had this girl join me today. Okay. She joined my business. She is a re-enrollee. She enrolled with me in 2016. And I got a message from her. She called me on Sunday via Messenger. And I was like, hey, how are you? And she's like, good. I mean, it's the last person I expected. She sounded healthy. She just sounded healthy. Like, that's the only word that I can think of. But she said, hey, listen, I want to apologize for not really giving it my all. I want to apologize for not really working this business before. But I want to join again tomorrow. And I really want to make this thing. One of the things that I realized, I thought, oh my gosh, I wish I could have had this on a recording. One of the things that I realized is that I watched another person, and she's about to get a bonus right now, $10,000 bonus. And I watched her really apply herself. I watched her really work this business. And I found out that when you're consistent and you really put stuff into this business, it's fruitful. I thought I was going to make fast cash. And it didn't happen, and I got frustrated, and I quit. And so that's the one thing that I'll tell people is you can get rich. You can make a heck of a lot of money, right? I mean, look at your upline. Hello. Seriously, right? You guys come from a great, lineage. So, I mean, you can make the money. You just might not make it tomorrow. And that's okay, because we always want to build for that stability. We always want to build for that longevity. And so think about, what do I want to do? What are the matters that I can take into my own hands? So set yourself a 3. Sometimes I like to work backwards. So what would I like to have in 5 years? What would I like to have in 3 years? So if I want to be at this point in 3 years, so if I want to be like, okay, an ambassador in 3 years, where should I be realistically in 18 months from now? Maybe I should realistically be a triple, in 18 months. Like, let's back it up. And then where do I want to be at a year? Can I shoot for double diamond in a year? Is that something I could do right now? Could I do it in a year? Or am I going to take 18 months and then I'm just really going to push it? However you got to work it, but work it out for yourself. Make a plan that's makes sense to you, and hold yourself to it. My first conference that I went to was in Grand Rapids, Michigan. It was before they moved to Florida. And they asked us to write down our goals. And my goal was to make $20,000 a month, and it was to quit my teaching job within a year. And I had a couple other things, and I wrote it in the back of a notebook. Maybe I wasn't brave enough to put it in the front of my notebook from when I was taking notes that day at that conference. I literally was a week into the business and I showed up, but it was here. And I found that notebook like 3 or 4 years later, and everything that I put in that back of that notebook came to fruition. Because I had put it down. I had just put it down, and it was somewhere lodged in the back of my brain. So I have a dream board I have a dream board of the things that I want, because I need to visualize it. I need to see it. I have, I'm on my desk, but I have this. I'm not even a clutter person. I don't love clutter. So don't look at my office, because I never did it. We moved 2 years ago in my office. But see right there, that's my closet door in my office. And I have that same thing. I just literally wrote, it says healthy, I'm insightful, because I really want to be more intuitive, more insightful. I'm free, like I'm mentally, physically, spiritually, financially free. I have a strong team, and I'm influential. And I have $87,000 written on that. I have that posted in my kitchen, I have it posted on my bathroom wall, and I have it posted in my office, the 3 most places that I'm going to be in my house. And I look at it, and I might not be cognizant of it all the time, but it's there. It's there. And so that's what I would tell you, wherever you are in your business. Put those goals down, break them down, make them apparent, and make them real for yourself, and then and remind yourself of that. I think that would be the biggest thing, because I think sometimes we feel like we're not worthy, and we think that we can't do it, and sometimes we don't even know what we want. And if we don't know what we want, we don't know where we're going, you're not going to go anywhere. We've got to visualize that. So I know it sounds a little woo-woo, but I really believe in it.
No, I love that. And I do something similar, except for I don't have I need to do that where I have it in every room of the house, because I have seen when people do that, it actually happens that much faster when you are constantly looking at it and constantly seeing it. So that's great advice. And
I think one more thing too is to remember the action steps that you can take.
Mm-hmm.
I had somebody on my team say, I'm going to sign up, my goal is to sign up 5 customers. Okay. You can't control whether they say yes or no, but you can control the ask. So how many people realistically do you think that you need to ask to get 5? 50? 100? What do they say? The percentage is 10%. I don't know. Yeah. So I think that's the other thing, is just being in charge of the things that you can do and putting that out there. And the more that you increase your action steps, the more that you're going to get a return for that.
Yep. That's great. Now, you kind of talked about this a little bit too. My other question that I had written down is, what would you say to someone who has been in a while and they might not be where they want to be? So mentally, maybe just frustrated, feeling stuck, maybe a little angry, maybe playing the comparison game, looking at others, seeing others pass by in ranks and they're still sitting at the same spot.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I think that that comparison is a trap. You know, I really think it's such a mental trap, and it's such a horrible place to put yourself in. Um, I think that is why it's so important to know where you want to be. Okay. Your journey, your race, your trajectory, that is yours. That's not somebody else's. You don't know what their goal is. You also know what you will do to get what you want, right? Somebody else may compromise their values to get where they want to be. I don't want to be that person in the end. Do you know what I mean? Like, to me, being virtuous is more important than, being a billionaire, right? Yeah, go. I'm doing a Zoom. So, so you got to know where you want to be in order to get there, right? So I think that's it. So I know that I went ambassador in 2 years, which is like wild. Now I look at some people and they're like, oh yeah, I went diamond in 3 days and I went ambassador in 9 months, right? It's just like, I thought that was fast, but that's what's cool, right? Somebody lays the foundation and then other people can go faster, right? Some people don't. I don't know what's going on in your life. I don't know what's going on with your family. I don't know what's going on with your health. I don't know what's going on in your head. Half the time it's in your head anyways. So, but I do know that my first 2 years went very smooth. My first two, I worked, don't get me wrong. Like, I worked like a dog, and I was up late and up early, but I was so excited and I wanted to be, right? But, that's because I was like, my goal was 20,000, 20,000, 20,000, 20,000, 20,000. I'm not going to stop till I get there, right? Well, then once I hit 20,000, I look back and I didn't up my ante. I didn't say, Nikki, what do you want to make? 50,000, 40,000? I thought, oh my gosh. Then I was like, well, 30. So then I went to 30. Okay. So then I was like, I never really set a goal. I went to 50. But I never really set that as a goal. It just happened from teen momentum. But I do know that those points in my business over the past 8 years, because we will all do this. It's a business. Nobody's ever going to go like this. I'm going to tell you that right now. If you think you're going to do this, nobody does this. Nobody. Watch the stock market. Nobody does that. That's not realistic. So you're going to do this. But when I did this, it's because my vision was hazy. It's because I didn't feel worthy. I didn't feel like I deserved it. I had this weird guilt going on that this is crazy. This is going to probably put me in the crazy category. But I would think, what if God's like, you know what? You're a little bit greedy. Like, you want to make $60,000 a month. You're making 30. That's not good enough for you? Well, here. Let me show you what not good enough feels like. Do you know what I mean? I felt like I was going to get knocked down a peg. Okay. I struggled with that for like 2 years. I struggled with it. Sometimes I still do, because that's what the devil wants to do, right? He wants to just get in your head and just kind of gnaw there. But I thought, yeah, what's wrong with making $30,000? We can certainly survive on $30,000 a month. Like, that's, whatever, and be very happy and do the things that we want to do, plus get by. So what are you doing? But I think at the end of the day, it's not about not being grateful. It's not about I'm worth more, I'm better than somebody else, and so I should make more than they are. That's not it. Money is just like, money just flows, right? Money is printed on paper. In my opinion, money is just like, I don't think money is any really different than this piece of paper. It's going to flow. It's going to go from the store to my hands to recycle, right? It's just going to flow. There's a life cycle of it. And I think that's the way that it is with money. I think that we can do really great things with money, so why shouldn't it be in our hands? And so we have to stop and think, oh my gosh, stop thinking about if you're worthy or not of it, right? Because there's a lot of people that are really, really rich that are pretty kind of shitty people, and they're doing bad things with their money, right? The money's still flowing to them, right? It's because their mind's focused on it. So, so I would stop playing that mind game with yourself, or stop letting the devil in your head with what you're worthy of or not, because you are. We're all worthy of making $100,000. What if That's what Diamond's made, $100,000 a month. And you were like, that's just the way that it is. And my goal is to make $200,000 a month, right? You would readily accept the fact that you should be making $100,000 a month when you hit Diamond, right? So why can't you just readily accept it, that you can just make that kind of money no matter what? It's just whatever the status quo is, and that's what other people say for us, right? So why don't we say it for ourselves? So I would stop that mind banter that's going on and really kind of pinpoint what the problem is, what's holding you up. Because at the end of the day, money's not going to change you if you don't let it, right? I think it can exemplify people if they're good people, and it can make people look worse than they are if they're already bad people, right? So it's kind of like a magnifying glass with what you can do. So I would kind of stop that little high game, and I would definitely put those blinders on. Because when I took my blinders off, when I didn't have a clear vision, that is when I stumbled a lot. And that is when my business stumbled. And I have to stop at the end of the day and go, okay, it's not about me. You guys, it's not about you. If you have people underneath you, it's about your team. And how are you going to help them if you're a crappy leader, if you can't even get out of your own head? How are you supposed to lead the next mom that joins your business that can't afford to put diapers on her baby's back, that can't afford to get baby food, that is still borrowing money from whomever, who's selling stuff on their garage sale sites, because not things that they really want to get rid of, but things that they have to get rid of, right? So who are you to like not be successful so you can help them? That's what we got to think about, right? Because we can do a real lot of good, even if it's just not for you. If you're not a good leader and you're not in a good headspace, you cannot help other people. And I feel like this business is all about helping other people. Like it or not, you can get rich helping other people. But I mean, that's how this business is. And the more that you get into it and the bigger your team is, I feel like you just grow an even bigger heart for your team. So we can't be all things for all people, but we certainly can set the example. So put those blinders back on, know that you're worthy, know that nobody else gets to dictate you. Who gets to decide for you? Because I just had to have a conversation with my sons last night. We try to usually do like a Bible story, but it just kind of hit me to talk about these kids and talk with these kids. And I said, it's really cool because I was affirmed like afterwards with a friend. I said, oh my gosh, this just came up. But you know how like in Bible or in like Christian music, they talk about the great I am, and the Bible talks about I am, right? So I'm talking to the boys about that. And then I'm saying, hey, you know what else they say? Because we always listen to the message too as well. And we've been reading our Bible stories, but I said, the same power that lives in him lives in you, right? If you're not religious, I'm sorry, but, or Christian or spiritual or whatever. But, so anyways, I said that the same power that lives in him lives in you, right? So what does that mean? And they're like, God's within us. And I was like, yeah, because the Father, the Son, the Alpha, the Omega, the beginning, the end, the light, the dark, all things, right? And if we have that same power, then why don't we utilize it? I feel like God gave us that spirit in us, and we're really doing him a disservice. We're saying we don't trust you and we don't trust the process, and so therefore we're not tapping in and utilizing these really cool skills. If my daughter has a skill, I want her to use it. If she's a good singer, I want her to display it, right? And I think that's how he thinks about us, and I think that we need to think about ourselves that way too. So back off my tangent.
No, that was awesome. I love that part because a lot of us on this Zoom are moms or spouses or significant others or have somebody in our life that we probably feel and know that way about them. Mm-hmm. And why don't we feel that way about ourselves? Mm-hmm. I'm a mom of 2 boys. I don't want my boys to look at me and think she didn't think highly enough of herself, and that's why she wasn't successful. You know what I mean? And it is. It's constant struggle. But it's like I look at my kids and I say, they're worth it. Mm-hmm. And if they're worth it, why am I not worth it? So I love
you're worth it just enough to do it for them even, right? If you have to frame it that way, which you shouldn't, but yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's awesome. So being a mom of 5 and going through this business a lot with, you had, when you started, how many kids did you have when you started with It Works?
Well, four. I mean, so I had mine were 5, 3, and 1, and then my stepdaughter was 13. I married my husband when she was 5, and we were dating since she was just 3. Actually, she had just turned 6, and we had split custody. So, I mean, I had 3.5, right? Like, as far as time-wise. I was 4, but time-wise. And, she was 13, and she was in cheerleading and sports, and so the days that we had her, it was go, go, go. And then, of course, I had a little girl that had just started kindergarten, I had a preschool, and then a baby.
Okay, so you had a lot going on.
Yes.
I know that probably a big question that everybody on this Zoom has is, what did your day look like? What did your average day look like? How did you manage your time between work, and your husband had the chiropractic office and you were probably heavily involved in that, and the kids, and building this business on top of all of that?
Oh, it was chaos. I'm not going to lie to you. I'm not going to lie. It was crazy, but you also have to understand that I had a goal and I had a timeline. And to me, in order to make $20,000 a month within 3 years, that felt like there was a hustle that needed to happen, What did that look like? What that looked like for me was really scheduling my time, making some short-term sacrifices for long-term goals. I quit my Grey's Anatomy. That was the show back then. I think it's still on, isn't it? I watched Grey's Anatomy every Wednesday or Thursday or whatever it was. I loved it. And I gave it up. I gave it up because I knew that was an hour and a half, or whatever the heck it was on. I knew that was time that I could spend building my business. And so I'm trying to think, did I have an iPhone when I started? I don't remember. But so what I would do is I would schedule phone calls with people on my lunch hours at work and on my way home to pick up the kids from daycare. So that is the time that I would spend to get people on the phone, or I would call leads. I always, always, always tried to get people on the phone. If I met them online, which I did a lot of my business online, but I met them online, I always got their phone number because I knew if I could talk to them on the phone and they could hear the excitement in my voice, I could overcome their objections and I could close them. You got to know where your strength set is, right? Are you good on Instagram? Are you good on Facebook? Are you good at parties? Are you good on the phone? You got to know where your strength is, and that's where you really got to work it. You can hone in and you can practice these other elements, right? Like, I harassed quite a few people on this team about Instagram, and I'm still trying to get it down, but I'm so focused on Facebook. You know what I mean? That's my side thing because it's working for me. So basically I worked around that. And then my kids, because they were so little, they went to bed at 8 o'clock. And so that was the time that I would get on the computer and I would really work it. And I would schedule things. I would schedule posts on my business page. And I would get out a paper and I would schedule it out for the whole week. And I would schedule out calls and parties. I did a lot of parties in the beginning. And then I also, whenever I signed up new people, I made sure that we had parties on the books for them too. So I was probably gone. My first month, I had 2 parties, got my 4 loyal customers. That's what I was told to do. My second month, I worked on building my team because I knew that's where the residual income would come in. And so I was probably gone about 3 nights a week. And it was a complete shift for my family because I was the one that put the kids to bed. I was the one that made dinner. I was the one that cleaned the house. I was the one that put the kids to bed. I was the one that bathed, everything. It was me. And so there were nights that I was like, hey, I got to go. And Chris was like, what's for dinner? And I'm like, I don't know, figure it out, And there was a kind of a tumultuous time in our marriage at that point just because there was a shift that we didn't plan on. You know how you just build your life with certain traditions, right? Well, that was the way that we had structured ours. And it kind of just went topsy-turvy because I was so excited to go to these parties and get out of the house and talk to adults. And it was just a new passion of mine. So So I was probably gone about 3 nights a week. The other thing that I would do is I would leave if I didn't have a party or something. I would leave the house between 6 and 8 o'clock. I would literally go drive around and call leads because I knew from 6 to 8 was the best time to call people. It's like kind of after dinner, maybe during dinner, but before bedtime, before they kind of turned and put their kids to bed. So again, getting them on the phone. So I kind of structured my life around when would be good for leads. And I was a slave to my phone the first 2 years. I truly, truly was. But again, I had a goal to me, and I don't regret it. You know, now we get to pick and choose our schedule a lot more. So I can't even tell you exactly what it was like because it was just kind of like whatever needed to be happened got done.
Yeah. And that was, I mean, honestly, 2 years to go ambassador is crazy. That's like crazy fast. I mean, really, even now with watching people climb to ambassador, I mean, that's still really fast. So you had to have done, everything and anything in your power to get there, and really to do something like that and to have a set goal of, I mean, most people don't start this business with a goal of $20,000 a month.
No, they don't.
Kind of crazy. But you had that goal and you had that focus, and that's why you made it happen, was because it was like, this is where I'm going and there's no other options.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, that's amazing. I think Suzanne had a question about, it says, that being said, what did the conversation on the phone look like or sound like? I'm assuming she meant when you were talking to potentials. Do you know what?
So if I made a post on our business page or on personal page, either or, the other thing that I do is if I do have somebody on my business page that's interested and we're talking and they seem like a likely candidate or they seem like they're really interested for real, I pull them over to my personal page so I can drip on them, so that way they can still see my personal posts, and I want them to see it's a real person. But it would just be like, yeah, I'm interested. And I'd be like, fantastic. I'd love to share more about it with you. When would be a good time to chat? Does tonight work or tomorrow work better? Give them 2 options, right? So then they would get, okay, great. What time? Do you work day? I can do lunch or I can do after dinner. What works better for you? Because I don't know if they're a stay-at-home mom. I don't know what their work schedule is. So then we get a time and I call them. I never let them call me. I mean, they had my number, but I always call them because that's what I can control, right? I can't control if they call me. And to be honest with you, I had such an agenda. I can't wait around for phone calls. So I would call them. And there were times when I would have my list, and if they didn't pick up the phone, they would go on my list for the next night. And I would be like, hey, Kathy, how's it going? We were supposed to chat yesterday, and I am super excited to get you some more information. I know things pop up. Go ahead and give me a call back, or I'll just try another time. And then I would wait 2 days. They would go on my list. I mean, I'm a paper person too. I would literally have a notebook. Or I would print it off on the computer and I'd staple it and I have lists. I mean, I still, this is only one little folder. I have a big folder, but I have people and then I'll write down their names and their phone numbers and type them out. And here's a paper, just a regular paper. Here's more. And then I write notes. I talked to these people this date, and they would just go on the next date. They would go on the next Friday. It'd be like a little Rolodex. And I always let them know if I missed them. Hey, girl, I'll try you another time, or you can call me before then. And it wouldn't be until the 8th, 9th, 10th time that I'd be like, I'm wondering if you're still interested. If you change your mind, that's fine. Go ahead and text me back or let me know if you're not interested anymore. If not, I'll just try again tomorrow. Maybe Sunday it will work. I mean, seriously, I was persistent. But I'll tell you what, a lot of those closes came on 5, 6, 7, 8 times. And you would be kind of pissed when you're calling them. You're like, hey, Amy, how's it going? But they would be like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. I just got busy. I had kids. And sometimes that's their reality, it wasn't a priority for them, so they didn't pick up. But my thing is just hey, so have you heard of It Works? Are you familiar with any home-based businesses? Do you understand how a home-based business works? Well, basically how it works is instead of having a manufacturer ship their stuff to Target, And then they got to increase the price because they've got to go ahead and pay for the overhead of the Target store, the managers, the salespeople, lights, electricity, all that stuff kind of gets built into it. Instead of doing that, we get to be the Target. And so we get to offer you wholesale prices, and you actually get a real person to talk to if you need any help or suggestions. And so that's how our business differs. That's the only thing. And so what's really great is because you cut out all of that middleman stuff, we get to earn commission, and we get to earn a percentage not only off of our personal customers, but also off of our whole team's activity. And so it can add up really, really quickly. How much money are you looking to make? So, and always try to end in a question. So that's kind of how my conversation would go, just as if you and I were sitting down and you're like, well, I don't understand, how does a home-based business work? Well, that's kind of how it works. So basically all we do to get you started is it's $99. Steps to success. $99 to get started. And then I'm going to work with you so you get your 4 loyal customers, because I want you to earn a $100 shopping spree. And then we're going to shoot to earn you that $5,000 MO bonus right now. That's the goal that you can help them get, So if people don't know exactly what they want, then I would say, let's shoot for this emerald thing. If we don't make it, we don't make it, but there's no harm, no foul type of deal. So does that help with the phone conversation? A phone conversation is so different, but I would always try to just keep them on track with, are you familiar with It Works? We have all natural whole food supplements. We have a skincare, and our most popular product is the wrap. Now, nowadays, I don't really go so much with our most popular product is the wrap. I say we have supplements, we have a keto line, and we have skincare. And the wrap is part of our skincare.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I love getting people on the phone too, and I love one-on-ones, and I feel like a lot of that personalization gets lost with the social media day and age, and everybody just wants to shoot messages back and forth. But some people, they would just rather they want that phone call. They want to hear your voice and know that you're a real person. So
yeah.
I
think some people are so skeptical. They don't know if you're duping them on the other end. They don't know it's a real person. So voice messages are great when you're texting or when you're on Messenger. And then the other thing too, Tammy, that said right at Green Carpet, somebody said that they always try to get their team to schedule 3-way calls. I don't remember who that was, but somebody said they always try to get their team to schedule 3-way calls. And I would do that a lot with Denise in the beginning. I had forgotten about that because I didn't know what to say to somebody. Mm-hmm. So I'd be like, hey, I would love to explain more. I just got started, and I really want to make sure that I give you the accurate information the first time. Do you mind if you want to get in a call with my sponsor and I? And you never drop the bomb. Don't ever get somebody on the phone and be like, hey, all of a sudden, like, you're upline on the phone with them, because that freaks people out. But I would just say, hey, do you mind, my friend Denise is, she's been doing it 3 years longer than me, or she's been doing it for 3 years now, and I just started. I can help answer questions, but she'll be really good at it. Would that be okay? So take advantage of those 3-way calls with your sponsor.
Yeah. And we're very open about that on our team, and making sure that our team does know that we're always there to help with that type of thing. So it's a pretty open communication that way, that they know they can get their, potentials on the phone, and we're more than happy to chat with them and stuff. And again, that's another thing for me. I would not have liked just a conversation with, especially a stranger that I didn't know, talking to me about this business opportunity that I had no experience with at all. Mm-hmm. I would want to have that one-on-one conversation or hear someone on the phone. So
absolutely. Yeah.
Awesome. Does anybody have any questions for Nikki or want to say anything? Debbie, I see you waving.
Yes. So Nikki, we were able to have dinner with you and Denise in Texas. And one of the girls that was sitting with us is on the Zoom right now. She had her major aha moment from you.
I heard, but I don't even know what it was.
I do. So I'm going to kind of walk you through it.
Okay.
Okay. So she had been feeling like she was a liar because she kept putting out that she was going to get a certain rank um, within a certain time period, and it just wasn't happening. And she just felt like everybody was watching her, and they knew that she wasn't getting those ranks during her goal. Do you remember that conversation?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so what did you say to her?
Oh, gosh. No, now I don't know. What comes to mind, I mean, just thinking about it is, I don't know, I think I told her, who the hell cares? Like, right? Really? Like, I think so many times we're so self-absorbed that we're not thinking about somebody else. I'm not thinking about, did you maintain your rank? Are you this rank? Did you maintain this? Because I'm concerned about me, right? You know, it's like when we go to a party, sometimes we look around and say, oh my gosh, she looks so cute. Like if we're going to be insecure, right? But we're always like, what am I wearing? Is what I'm doing good enough? You know, and sometimes we can't see past ourselves. So I think that if you hit a rank for the first time, I mean, if you hit a rank and then your business crumbles, there's things that are out of our control sometimes. I had 2-3 years ago, I had about half of my team leave for another company, completely out of my control. Now, at the time, it felt very personal to me. But I look back and I'm like, I cannot control what other people do, right? I can't control that. So it has nothing to do with me. It had everything to do with them. It just wasn't the right fit. It wasn't the right time. They got sideswept, whatever the reason may be. I got to stop taking it personal. And so that just happens. That was completely out of my control. All I can do is continue to do what I do, right? And I think that's all of us. We can all just do what we continue to do. So I've been in this business for 8 years, and I have been an ambassador. And in September or October, I lost my ambassador rank and went back to presidential. That sucks, right? That is a hard pill to swallow. But here's the deal. That doesn't change who I am. That doesn't change my testimony. That doesn't make me less Nikki. That doesn't make me less anything, right? Because again, we'll go back to what we say earlier. We are, I'll be up in a minute. We are who we say we are. Like I was telling my kids, I am, right? Nobody else defines us. Nobody else. You don't define me. Your opinion doesn't define me. What somebody else says about me does not define me. I define me, right? And whoever I'm going to find my worth in, whether that's myself, my family, my God, my situation, whatever it is, I decide. You know, I saw a meme the other day and it said, your opinion is none of my business, right? And so, I mean, I think it was along those lines, like, screw them, who cares? This is your business. This is your passion. This is your path. You are worthy of this. And nobody's even probably thinking twice. And if they are, who are they? You know what I mean? I don't know exactly what I said, but I feel like it was along those lines, you know?
Yeah, it was along those lines. And then you also added, why are you stopping yourself? Do you know how to sign a distributor?
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Do you know how to sign a customer? Yes. Then why aren't you doing those things? Right?
Mm-hmm.
So that was huge.
Yeah,
like,
was she getting more, I can't remember if you're getting more customers than distributors. I feel like it was one of the things. She was getting more of one than the other. But regardless, yeah, you know what to do. You've done it. You can do it. You're capable of it. It's just putting that, letting the devil in your head and defining you and stopping you from going where you're supposed to be going. Because, I mean, we're all so capable, you guys. We're all so capable and so worthy. And it's always between our ears that gets us in trouble so many times, you know. And I'm guilty too. Now, that doesn't mean, you know, that doesn't mean that just because we know that we're able and we know that we're worthy that we're going to have it, right? We still have to take those action steps. We still have to work through it. We still maybe have to make some sacrifices. And sometimes we just got to figure it out. But it's still, you're still able to do it, right? It's still obtainable, in my opinion.
That's awesome.
What else?
Yeah.
What else?
I know that that was a big thing, that it's like sometimes we just have to get back to the basics and say, how do you grow this business? You sign customers and you sign distributors. Maybe you tried to do it a certain way. Maybe you started out running with this business a certain way, and then you started looking left and right and seeing someone's building this way and someone's building that way. And then you try to do all these different things, but your productivity decreases because you're not signing those people because you were doing what you could do, a different way.
Well, exactly. I mean, like, okay, let's go back to Instagram, right? So I like picked Amy's brain, and I'm like, man, I don't sign loyal customers like she does on Instagram. Well, you know what, Nikki? You don't work Instagram like Amy works Instagram either, right? That's the hard, cold truth, So when people say to me, well, I can't do it and you're so lucky, do you work like I work? Have you put in the hours that I've put in? That's the differentiator right there. That's what it comes down to. So yeah, figure out what works for you. Always be growing and learning and trying new things because it might be the thing. But again, stay in your own lane. Do you, right? Just do you, and just know how awesome you are that you're created the way that you are. I mean, we all have unique capabilities and talents, and it'd be freaking boring if we were all, I love Stephanie. She's like my best friend, right? She's one of my best friends. And, but if we were all Stephanies, wouldn't it be kind of boring? Like somebody else wouldn't have a different personality, a different flair, different jokes, different sense of humor, different compassion levels. That's why we surround ourselves in community, so we get the best of all of these different pieces. And so just know that you were, uniquely designed, and that's really cool. And so you have things that other people don't have. You're just letting the enemy tell you otherwise, I guess.
Yeah. Well, this is great. I think I needed to hear it, and I think everyone on this Zoom needed to hear what you had to say. So thank you for taking this past hour to pour into us.
You're welcome. As I go off on my tangents.
No, I love it. This is you, and people need to know you and see how passionate you are about things, and I love it. So thank you so much.
You're welcome. It was fun. Good luck, you guys. Have an awesome week, and sign them up.
Yes. Thanks so much, Nikki.
Yep, you're welcome. Bye.
Bye-bye.